Sturgeon stands down.
I am announcing my intention to step down as First Minister and leader of my party.
Corbyn canned.
Jeremy Corbyn will not stand for Labour at the next general election as a Labour Party candidate.
And Lee libelled. These are the interesting times. Hello everyone, my name's Matt Johnston and welcome to the Interesting Times, a show that likes to take a sideways swipe at politics right here in the UK. Nicola Sturgeon, First Minister for Scotland, has stepped down, citing the emotional and physical toll that comes with a career in frontline politics and as a leader of her country. Wait a minute, she's stepping down of her own fruition? What? You can do that? What happened to tanks won't drag me out of here? Or I've made mistakes, I've apologised for those mistakes, let's move on. Or it all happened before I got here. Come on, Nicola, stop the steal. Stop the steal. Nicola came to power after Alex Salmond stepped down following the Scottish independence referendum, in which Scotland voted to stay a part of the UK, which no doubt prompted David Cameron to say, hey, aren't referendums great? Let's have one on EU membership. Let's get all the top Tories in. George Osborne, Theresa May, Boris Johnson. Boris? Where did Boris go? Nicola Sturgeon has served as a member of the Scottish Parliament since last millennia and as First Minister since 2014. So, here is a man who was Chancellor of the Exchequer for 38 days, talking to a man who was a member of the European Parliament for less than 8 months, and a woman who was sleeping with a man who was a member of the European Parliament for less than 8 months, talking about how a woman who won 2 landslide elections north of the border, served as leader of Scotland for 8 years and stepped down where she chose to, was a failure.
Her woke agenda ended up blowing up in her face.
Nicola has done a fair amount of good, including free eye tests, free dental work, free bus travel for under 22s, free school meals for nursery-age toddlers, record health investment, record lowering of crime, lowest in 40 years. But what would be her crowning glory? My estimation has to be this.
The single most unpleasant, sour-faced, humourless person of all the people I've met among world leaders is Nicola Sturgeon.
Sturgeon has been described as some in the Scottish Conservatives as a Marmite figure. You love her or you loathe her, as opposed to their old boss, who was a Philadelphia Prime Minister. Fat, white and cheesy. So, while Nicola Sturgeon has chosen to make way, others aren't so lucky. Jeremy Corbyn has been informed he won't be able to stand as an MP at the next election. Uh-oh. Here comes trouble. Corbyn, it's fair to say, is a bit of a divisive figure. How divisive? Well, if I put on a Nicola Sturgeon mask, wearing a Make America Great Again baseball cap, and a blue and gold dress with a jam on top of cream scone in one hand and a cream on top of jam scone in the other, screaming at the top of my lungs, leave means leave, I would still not be as divisive a figure as Jeremy Corbyn. Corbyn isn't so much a Marmite politician as a politician with, on one side, a following who have cult-like belief in savoury sandwich spreads, and on the other, a Marmite allergy. Keir Starmer held a press conference to apologise for the anti-Semitism that was found in the party and to advise that it won't happen again.
Today, on behalf of the entire Labour Party, I say sorry. We have changed from a party that looked inward to a party that meets the public gaze. If you don't like the changes that we've made, I say the door is open and you can leave. To all those who want to make this great country greater still, I say, the door is open, come in, make us your home again.
That's one busy entrance. So, was Keir Starmer right or wrong to exclude Jeremy Corbyn from standing as an MP for the Labour Party? Yes. Okay, good, let's move on. All right, let me put it another way. Everyone who's heard of Corbyn has got an opinion on Corbyn and an opinion on Corbyn's opinions. But if Labour are going to win the next election, they can't give the Conservative Party a bearded stick to beat them round the head with for the next 2 years for the sake of one safe Labour seat. When, let's be honest, come the next general election, fingers crossed, there won't be any unsafe ones. I do appreciate, though, that this isn't the last I've heard of this, either on the news or indeed in the comments section below. Last week I spoke about the two new additions to the cabinet, Greg Hands and Lee Anderson, and how they were brought on to steer the Conservatives to victory by getting their message across. So how's it going for Greg and Lee? Well, Greg's hitting the news for giving a £25 million contract for PPE to a Tory activist with no previous experience of supplying PPE. And Lee Anderson is getting sued for a defamatory remark he made on Facebook. So as far as getting Conservatives' message across, job very much done. Lee Anderson is being sued by Michael Hollis, who runs a food bank charity. We all know he's not a fan of those. He claimed in a Facebook post that money in brown paper envelopes had exchanged hands to facilitate a planning application on behalf of Mr. Hollis. The Conservative Party, of course, don't accept bribes. Well, not in pounds anyway. And they don't use brown envelopes, more like manila. And that's it. No time to talk about MPs accepting a pay rise, but it's only 2.9%. And brings their paycheck to a paltry £86,584. Peanuts. How are we expecting to attract the brightest minds in the country on that nonsense? Thankfully, they will still be able to claim for all their travel, food, drinks, parties, parking, rent, accommodation that's not rent, wallpaper and pornography. And if they have to stay in the House of Commons to give such thoughtful insights as this,
I do not believe in nationalising children.
then rest assured they will have the sustenance they need through the Parliament's tax-paying subsidised restaurant and bar, providing the cheapest beer in London. No time to talk about David Smith, a guard at the UK Embassy in Berlin who was caught in a sting operation as a spy working for the Russians. His home was searched and €800 were found, which is believed to be his payment from the Russians. A spokesman for the Foreign Office is said to be shocked, as normally €800 isn't enough to get a tennis match with Boris Johnson. Amongst the items he was said to have passed to the Russians was a letter from Liz Truss to Boris Johnson. Now imagine if that had fallen into the wrong hands. Although that does beg the question, what are the right pair of hands in that situation? No time to talk about asylum seekers who have spoken about their fears of violence living in housing and accommodation. A number of protests by far-right groups such as Patriotic Alternative, Grow Up, are seeking to agitate local concerns about asylum seekers. One woman attending a meeting at Priory Church in Dunstable said a friend had seen asylum seekers sexually harassing young girls in the town. I'm concerned for my children and my grandchildren, she said, even though no asylum seeker had been housed in the area at the time of the complaint. The local Conservative MP for South Bedfordshire, Andrew Seeless, accused Patriotic Alternative of inflaming anti-immigrant hatred. What? By making reducing boats a key pledge, or having a Home Secretary describe the asylum seekers as a swarm or an invasion? Or putting a policy in place to fly legitimate asylum seekers to Rwanda? Sorry, Andrew, but you reap what you sow, Weller. And no time to talk about Roald Dahl books being looked over and updated by sensitivity experts. Changes made include changing fat to enormous, not making fun of people wearing wigs and being bald, and eliminating the words crazy and mad. The Daily Mail were outraged, as I'm sure was this mad, fat, balding cunt. Thank you all so much for watching, and if you are enjoying these vids, then please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit all the notification bell so you don't miss another. And I'll see you all in a couple of weeks' time. Take care.